everybody, and welcome to Plaidstallions Toy Ventures. I am Brian, your host, and this is kind of a new one for me because I'm going to revisit an episode I did previously, mainly because I don't think I did the subject matter justice, and a lot has changed in my own collection. As a side bonus, it's a fantastic toy line that deserves more recognition. It doesn't get enough attention, and I'm referring to the amazing Zee Toys Metalman range of action figures and vehicles. This is a toy line that truly captivated me as a kid and still does as a collector. I've had some good luck recently, so I've been starting to get a handle on what was made and when, and I've decided to try and craft something of a timeline around this series in this video. It's been something of a fun exercise for me, and might be some entertainment for you guys, I hope. I've been collecting the Metalman line for decades, and it's few and far between around here, and I've often found myself getting outclassed by a lot of more serious collectors. However, as I mentioned earlier, some recent good fortune in the last couple of years has resulted in me finding some pieces I never would have expected to own. To give a bit of a backstory into this whole situation, Zee Toys was a California-based company that also operated under the name Intex, and they provided inflatable pool toys, which actually they're still in business and they still do that. The Zee Toys brand originated from items produced by the Hong Kong company Zyl, which internationally used the name Zylmex for its toy products. The company's main output was diecast vehicles, and while they did hold the MASH license in the mid-1970s, they were really more known for their in-house brands, stuff like Firebirds, which were pretty blatant knockoffs of Jerry Anderson's Thunderbirds. The Metalman brand made its US debut in 1976, a good year ahead of Mego's Micronauts, and 2 years before Kenner would get a Star Wars figure on the shelves. And that was the secret to this line's overall success. Despite having zero TV advertisements, they fit in with your Micronauts, they looked at home in the Creature Cantina, and they made the adventure people's adventures more interesting. This 3 3/4 inch line consisted of a range of die-cast robot characters. Some are fantastical, while others have regular jobs like policeman or soldier. Some of the tooling for the Metalman figures was taken from Takara, especially characters like Steel Jig and Super Steel Gakin, a figure I desperately want. Metalman had a limited amount of characters, starting with Policeman, who would later go by Sergeant Silver, Soldier, who would go by Corporal Chrome, Spaceman, also known as Major Mercury, Rescueman, a truly difficult figure to find, and Zee dubbed him Captain Hackett. And representing the more science fiction-y robotic characters, we have Radon, Roton, and Questar. This line of figures would run from 1976 until 1982, and what is remarkable is how many change-ups they did with this very limited character selection. Zee would make significant changes to the line every year, shaking up the assortments, changing the characters' colors, accessories, catalog gift sets, and of course, changing the packaging. So I'm attempting to present a bit of a timeline here. The first time I ever laid eyes on these figures, they came in window boxes like these. In fact, these are the window boxes. I do not know if these were offered in the United States in this way, but this is how they were in my hometown anyways. No accessories in these small, cool-looking Zylmex boxes. What I discovered is that these were actually imported into Canada by a different company. It was called P.K. Douglas, and those are the same people who also brought the Lincoln Monsters to the Great White North. And I am eternally grateful. It's pretty different from Zee's output. Oddly enough, while I was researching this video, I discovered that the Metalmen got released in Italy by Baravelli. Mego collectors know who that is. But they put them in these gorgeous little blue window boxes, very similar to the Canadian stuff. Just amazing. There's more things out there I want. These appear to be very rare, however. Zee was marketing the figures very differently in the United States. This is a carded Corporal Chrome I recently picked up on what I believe would be the earliest US Zee card. It is significantly smaller than later Metalman cards, and each figure obviously comes with accessories. This set includes a raft and an oar, and that's good, because you probably don't want to get a robot wet. When you turn the card around, only 4 characters are present, and they are simply called their original names: Policeman, Soldier, Spaceman, and Robot. The entire 1976 offering is these 4 figures, available carded or in deluxe vehicle sets. And speaking of the vehicle sets, I've had some good fortune in the last couple of years, and I can't believe it, but I own 2 of the 4 that were released. The first one is this Corporal Chrome with an authentic Army Jeep and trailer. He's still referred to as Metalman Soldier here, and the packaging is especially nice. The whole line had a very good design vibe going for it. That makes sense, because this was not a TV advertised toy. It just had to be a cool toy. It had to sell itself, and Zee was very good at that. I picked this set up from a place called Sergeant Reds in Michigan. I think they're YouTubers as well. It's probably the first time I've ever had the opportunity to buy this, and I had time to think about it, because usually I just see these in ended auctions. It took me a while to find the money, but I'm glad I picked it up. And it was actually spectacular. It was shipped really nicely. And it had the original J.C. Penney receipt in it, in case I'd like to return it and get my $5 back. Before I even got time to bask in this new purchase, I lucked out and scored a second Metalman box set. Again, it was in Michigan, and also it had J.C. Penney stickers on it. Really weird coincidence. This time it's the Radon figure with the flying saucer. Radon may be my favorite Metalman character of all time. I'm just very smitten with his design, and I love that he comes with a laser weapon here that, I wish he could hold better, but glue dots saved the day. The saucer itself is glorious. Although mine has lost that little tiny latch to keep it closed, I truly love everything about this set. Every little detail is great, including the wonderful backdrop art featuring the other ship in the range. The other 2 vehicle sets were the metal Spaceman with his space rocket, which I have here, and it's loose but not boxed. The space rocket is another fun vehicle. The set comes with Major Mercury this time, another really iconic Metalman design. I know people that don't collect toys that somehow have a Major Mercury. The final vehicle in this series is Sergeant Steele and his police helicopter. This is something I currently don't own, but would very much like to. Strangely enough, in the late 70s, Zee would offer a different wave of vehicles. The saucer was still there, but the spaceship now had laser cannons. The helicopter had been converted to a fireman rescue copter equipped with a basket and a winch. And it also came with Rescueman, aka Captain Hackett. The Army Jeep was then repurposed and painted black, given a winch and a top to make it look like a police vehicle. And the figure included was a blue repaint of Sergeant Silver that I've seen referred to as Lieutenant Sterling. These sets were shown in the Zee catalogs until 1980, when it just mysteriously switched back to the original 4-vehicle assortment in the catalog. If these sets exist, I haven't seen them, but would very much like to. If you've seen these sets or have them, please drop me a line. I gotta know. The line would expand in the late 1970s in 2 different ways. The first would be the logical addition of new characters. And then the second part would be different accessories. This card is from 1977, and the assortment has added 2 new characters, bringing it to a total of 6. However, there were 11 different sets available due to these differing accessories. There are 3 different Major Mercury offerings, each with differing space gear. That goes the same for Corporal Chrome, who added a backpack and a stretcher to go along with his pre-existing raft. And there were now 2 ways to get a Sergeant Silver, as he had a new searchlight and bullhorn set. This is why this line can be so challenging to collect. There are a lot of variations, and it also gets confusing. There are also a good number of exclusive catalog sets produced for JCPenney and Sears. These included a varying mix of accessories, figures, and vehicles, and fun little throw-ins like the backdrop from the flying saucer packaging. I do not personally own any of these, but that is not for lack of trying. As the decade came to a close, the Metalmen would face their third and final rebranding. This time the card would be a little shorter. It would feature some gorgeous color art of a golden rotar, and would have a bit of a pared back assortment. The only character to receive 2 different versions would be Major Mercury. The rest would be stuck with just 1 iteration. This assortment also boasted an addition in terms of Captain Hackett with his axe and first aid box. I have not seen a carded Captain Hackett ever. I do not own the 1980s Zee Toys catalog, but I looked it up online, and yeah, Captain Hackett is mysteriously missing from the assortment, so I'm going to guess he never got made. And that's another problem with this line, is there is a lot of stuff you're not sure if it ever came out. Other than the removal of Captain Hackett, from everything I can see for the next 2 years, the assortments did not change, and I think basically just eventually was wound down. And in fact, from what I understand, their 1982 catalog, the Metalmen are basically like half a page, which is never good news for an action figure line. I just want to mention that I found a Facebook group for the Metalmen that I think is really worth checking out. I found it after I was done this video. However, there's a lot of things in there that are great follow-ups, like that Lieutenant Silver was released abroad, and that there are several other foreign releases, from England, Italy, Germany, that I'll never own. But if you want to learn more about this topic, I'd suggest checking out that group, and I'll leave a link below. This is a toy line that has fascinated me now for 50 years, and I think it's just a combination of its memorable style and, the way it hit my imagination as a kid. And also just my love for toy mysteries and trying to figure out a line. I mean, there is something very cathartic about that. And I really do think this is one of the most underrated lines of the 1970s. It was present for most of it, but it never really attracted a lot of attention. And it is one of my most requested, what is this toy from, emails that I've gotten since I started Plaidstallions 20 years ago. And, at this phase in my life, the Metalmen is a toy line I can safely accept I will never complete, because I don't even understand how much is out there. But I'm still really enjoying the journey, and by joining that group, I realize there's 2 figures I need. So, super excited to go track those down and have fun with them. If you have Metalman memories, I would like to hear them either in the comments below, or you can hit me up in my Facebook group, Plaidstallions, where this is what we like to discuss. That is all the time I have for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're new to this, please consider hitting like and subscribe. If you're not new, thank you for watching to the end, and please share with a friend. I'll be back in a couple of weeks with some amazing Lincoln Monsters stuff. Until next time, be well and talk toys, not other people. Cheers.